Hello, hello.
What's going on, bro?
Oh man, everything's great. Welcome everyone. We're gonna be streaming live on.
Good evening.
Hi there, Credit Goddess. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing excellent.
How you doing?
Good.
Doing excellent. Looking forward to our conversation tonight. If everyone would hit the plus sign and invite as many people as you can, fill up the room, that would be great. And let's see here.
Let me get started.
Go right ahead. All right, so cool. So everyone, yeah, just hit the plus sign, share on YouTube. Be sure to go ahead and hit the share button, share it with 10 people. Let's get this conversation started. I'm Brian L. Ponder. I am a trial lawyer. Most of my work is in the federal court system in the area of consumer law. Consumer law consists of representing everyday people, consumers, and enforcing their rights. Mainly, I deal in the areas of credit, debt, and real estate issues, helping people with credit issues, helping people defend against debt collection, and helping people defend against the bank when they're trying to foreclose and having other real estate and mortgage issues. My practice is based in New York City, but I practice in federal court throughout the United States and over a dozen different courts in the federal court area. I've been practicing a little over 8 years. I've been in the credit area and real estate area over 16 years. So I have a decent bit of experience in this area. My passion comes from having dealt with these issues in my life and helping people, for over a decade. And so I really enjoy being able to help people realize their personal financial dreams by dealing with, different issues that can really stop you. I mean, credit can stop you from becoming a homeowner, the American dream, can stop you from getting jobs. I've even had cases where people were trying to join the military and were unable to get clearance because of some credit items. So it really affects almost everything in your life. And then with respect to once you get that home, when things happen, people need help in defending themselves. We have a question skill at 30. Does my practice reach the Maryland area? No, I don't practice in Maryland, but I will talk about some things where, like, my firm has helped people all over. And so what happens is, if you have an issue, if you're a consumer in Maryland, but you have an issue with a debt collector that does business or is based in New York, you can actually hire me to help you because the person you have an issue with, the courts in New York has jurisdiction over them. So, however, if you're being sued in Maryland, which is where I'm not licensed, you would need a lawyer who's licensed in your state to defend you. So it all depends. So it depends on if you're going after them or if they're coming after you. If they come after you, you need someone situated in your particular state. So for me, that would be people in New York. If someone's getting sued in New York, I can help them. But if someone in New York or outside of New York needs to sue someone, then it all depends on who they need to sue for me to help. Let me situate something here. Okay. We have a few moderators here, Vance Dotson and the Credit Goddess. And just want y'all to, Vance, if you can introduce yourself to everyone, and everyone follow the moderators. Let them know who you are, Vance.
Vance Dotson, Oklahoma City. Been, I guess, chasing debt collectors and consumer reporting agencies, banks, credit card companies since 2004.
Awesome. Credit Goddess.
Dan, so you still there?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, you're done? You're done?
Just like that.
Like it 45 seconds.
Just like that.
Hey, everybody. You're very short. Hi, everybody. My name is Rose Laura Lewis. I'm also known as Credit Goddess. I am NASB business loan broker and consultant, certified credit scores improvement strategist. So I help my clients build better credit to have a better lifestyle with 4 to 5 figure lines. So if you have any questions about credit building or even on business credit, I'm here to answer any of those questions. So thank you for having me, Brian and Vance.
Happy to have you. Thank you.
No problem.
We're also streaming on YouTube, so we'll be having some questions pop in here and there from YouTube as well. So,
Brian, what are you at?
What's that?
I hope you're not asleep over there.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'm here. So I was saying we also have.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. We also have, we'll be streaming live on YouTube. So we'll see questions come in from there as well. So,
okay, cool.
But again, you want to definitely share the room with others. But tonight I want to talk about how to make debt collectors pay your bills. A lot of people, when they think about debt collection and debt collectors, they become really afraid because they're having to face some of the issues they're having financially. And what happens is when you have debts, for example, credit card, medical debts, things like that, if they're not paid, those original creditors can hire or sell the debts to debt collectors. And the debt collector is the company or the person that will call to try to collect that debt. They'll write you, they'll call your work, your job, and it becomes very annoying and actually becomes harassing. And so they use all kind of methods to try to get you to pay because they get paid when that debt is paid. And so there are laws in place to try to prevent the abuse that a lot of these debt collectors and tactics that they use, because the consumers are harmed as a result of many of these methods. And some of these methods can be people getting threatened that they're going to jail or that they're going to lose their job. And, sometimes you may think it's hard to believe, but all these things happen. They're being cursed at and all kinds of things. And more importantly, these debt collectors have relationships with consumer reporting agencies. People call them credit bureaus, but they're not bureaus. They're consumer reporting agencies or credit agencies. And so these debt collectors are subscribers and customers of these reporting agencies, and they'll take this debt and put it on your credit. This can stop you from buying a home, car, getting a job. It can, by decreasing your credit score, it can actually, hurt you financially in a lot of the things you want to do. If you have a business, you're a business owner, it can stop you from getting business loans. I've had clients who are in the middle of, and even professional clients who are in the middle of trying to buy a building for medical practices for $2 million, but debt collectors have, wrongly placed things on their credit report. and these things have to be removed. So this is a very, very important topic, because most of the financial problems you have ends up with a debt collector, because a lot of times original creditors will only go so far in trying to collect a debt. And this is a very, very important topic. Now, the twist of this topic is how to make debt collectors pay your bills. Now, a lot of people are like, what in the world is that? And how does that work? Well, I'm going to explain to you how that works. And I want to just sort of set the foundation a little bit. There are a lot of people dealing in the credit space, and just like any area, there's good people dealing in that space and bad people dealing in that space. And just like any other area, just like even politics, there's in medicine, there's good information, good news and fake news, right? So there's good information about credit and there's bad information. Unfortunately, as we all know, bad information travels faster than the good information. And so first of all, just sort of step back and understand that the information you may have acquired up until tonight may not necessarily be good information. So just be open and understand that everyone who's moderating here is very, very proficient in this area. And I'm going to break some things down for you and try to educate you in this area the best way I can. But understand, you're not going to learn everything tonight. But if you're in this space, whether you're trying to improve your own credit, or you happen to be a credit repair specialist or credit repair organization, just listen very carefully. But not only listen to this, but study some of the things that I'm going to share with you, so that you can improve what you're trying to do for yourself or others. What I learned a while back, when I went to law school or when I got involved in just credit in general, is it's okay not to know something. So if you're asked a question and you don't know the answer, that's fine. It's actually a beautiful thing not to know something, because you can learn something new. And people that think they know everything are actually at a disadvantage, because when you think you know everything, then by default, you think you can't learn anything new or don't need to learn anything new. And nothing can be further from the truth, even with respect to credit. I've been practicing in this area in the aspect of law for 8 years, and like Vance, I've been dealing with credit for 16 years, but we're constantly reading cases, learning new things. Even though the law has not changed much, the interpretation of it has changed. And so this is an evolving area. And with respect to learning, understand that while, yes, you can hire someone to help you with your credit situation, but you're going to have to learn to take intellectual responsibility for learning credit, because whoever you hire to help you with your credit is not going to hold your hand every time you use your credit card, or reprogram your mind on how you should spend your money or when you should use your credit card. We can tell you that, but ultimately you have to learn practices that's going to be helpful to you with respect to maintaining good credit. All right. So anyway, just want to get it out the way. This is not going to be boring. I'm going to try to make it exciting. I'm going to try to make it simple. So, but at any point, if you don't understand something I'm talking about, it's perfectly fine to come in with your question. Just raise your hand and I'll explain something. No need to wait till the end. Just come in with your question. And for those of you on the YouTube, we have Super Chat. You support the channel. I take time out of my days. Like Monday is a very busy day, but I want to take time out to create some value for you. So if I'm able to add some value to you, please utilize the Super Chat to ask your question. I would appreciate that. And those of you on Clubhouse, if you follow me and go to my profile, you'll see the Cash App. If I create some value for you and you want to support what I'm doing in these rooms, definitely make a donation. No donation is too small or too big, so you don't have to be shy about that. All right, so we have some questions on some things on the YouTube here. Since Skill at 30 says, since my credit has improved, I'm noticing an increased amount of dunning letters coming out of the blue. I'm sure this isn't coincidental. So yeah, so what happens is these debt collectors, they have relationships with consumer reporting agencies. And so they're able to do what's called soft inquiries to take a look and see what's going on with you. That's not legal. It's not permissible. They don't really have a permissible purpose under the law. They think they do, but they do not. And so when your credit is improving, and first of all, they're noticing that you're paying things, on time and doing things, or if you moved, your address is updated, they can see that by doing these inquiries. And what they'll do, they'll send a dunning letter. A dunning letter, for those that don't know, that's basically a letter where they're asking you to pay a debt. So that's a dunning letter. And so, yeah, so sometimes you'll see that happen as you're improving your credit and trying to make things better for yourself. Now, let's understand what debt collectors are. Debt collectors, like I mentioned earlier, are companies that are collecting money for another company. The laws that we're talking about tonight do not apply to people you do business with directly or people that gave you money directly. The laws that deal with debt collectors is called the FDCPA, which stands for Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. These laws were invented, as I mentioned earlier, to try to protect you as a consumer and prevent debt collectors from abusing you, harassing you, etc. I'm going to go over some things with respect to those laws. Some things that the law covers, the FDCPA, would be how they communicate with you. That would be 1692C. They can't communicate with you before 8 o'clock or a.m. or after 9 o'clock p.m. If they do, that's improper. They can't call you at work if they have reason to know that your work does not allow those calls. And they also can't contact you after you are represented by an attorney and they are informed of that. If they do that, or any of these other things I'll mention, they're subject to have to pay you up to $1,000. They also can't harass you. They can't threaten you. They can't use obscene language. They can't publish a list, including your name, about owing a debt. They can't advertise for sale any alleged debt that you have to try to coerce you to pay it. They can't call you and cause your phone to ring repeatedly or continuously with the intent to annoy or harass you at that number. And so if they do any of these things, they're violating the FDCPA, and it could be $1,000 violation. Some other things they can't do is try to, they can't use false or misleading methods to try to collect from you. They can't falsely seem like they're vouched or bonded by the United States. They can't falsely represent the character of the debt. Now, the debt is what they're saying you owe. They can't falsely represent the amount. And so understand the amount is, say if you owed $100 on a credit card, then a debt collector takes over the debt and then they send you a bill saying you owed $150. Well, that's against the law. That's a misrepresentation of the amount. That can be $1,000 violation that they would have to pay you if you pursue it. They can't falsely represent the legal status of the debt. They can't pretend that they're an attorney, falsely representing their law firm trying to collect a debt, or that a lawyer is working with them. They can't they can't make any threats to illegally to do some legal action against you that they don't actually intend to take. Like a lot of times they'll say they're going to sue. Well, if they don't have a real intent to sue, that's actually an illegal action against you. They can't falsely represent or imply that that you as a consumer committed a crime by not paying them. Also, in 1692 E8, they can't communicate or threaten to communicate any credit information which is known to be false to consumer reporting agencies or any person. And if you dispute a debt with them, they have to, if they communicate with a consumer reporting agency after you do that, they have to indicate that the debt is disputed. Now, if they don't do that, that's a violation of the FDCPA. So all these things are violations. I'm just giving you a framework. There are a lot of ways debt collectors can violate you. They can't use false or deceptive means to attempt to collect a debt. So I saw this one case where they sent a letter. It looks like it was a seal of the Attorney General or the state. That's bad. That's not only bad, but it's unlawful to do that. They have to let you know in the communication that the communication is from a debt collector, and that they're attempting to collect a debt, and any information we use for that purpose in that first communication. Any subsequent or later communication, they have to indicate that they're a debt collector. They can't falsely represent that papers they send you a legal process when it's not. So any of these things are violations that can make them have to pay you $1,000 under the FDCPA. They can't use any business, company, or organization name other than its true name or the debt collector's business, company, or organization. Also, the false representation or implication that documents are not legal process when they are. That's a violation. So they could be suing you and trying to say, look, this is just papers that we want you to look at. They can't try to pretend like you're not getting sued when you are. So that's a violation. Some other violations are trying to add money. And so practicing in New York, I have colleagues in Buffalo. And Buffalo is like a debt collector capital. And I actually know attorneys that have friends that are debt collectors, and they tell me, yeah, they add a little money here and there on top of what they're collecting just to make some extra money. That's illegal. They cannot add any fee, charge, interest, or expense to these debts unless it's expressly authorized by the agreement creating that debt or by law. So they can't add their little fee on top of it just because they feel like it. That's a violation. That could be a penny, a dollar, any amount. They cannot do that. That's illegal. All right. So they can't deposit or threaten to deposit post-dated checks. And again, they can't take or threaten any non-judicial action, like basically coming to take something from you. They can't do that. They can't communicate with you by postcard. Any of these things would be considered a violation. If you tell them you refuse to pay the debt, then they can't contact you. And that's what I have actually a letter called a 1692 CC letter. And basically, if you notify a debt collector that you refuse to pay, they have to, in writing, and the key part is in writing. And so if you do that in writing, then they're not supposed to communicate with you. Likewise, a lot of people are harassed by debt collectors and called all the time, you can stop that. That can be easily stopped. You just have to, in writing, tell the debt collectors to stop contacting you. Now, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking they can do that by phone. You can, but it's not legally enforceable until you put it in writing. the challenge of that is you have to figure out how to write to that debt collector. So you would have to either get their email, their fax, or their mailing address, and then you would have to reduce your request or put your request to stop their contact in writing, and then send it to them. If you do that and they contact you, that again is a violation of the FDCPA. And with that violation of FDCPA, once again, you qualify to be able to sue them and get damages, which are money damages, which would include however much money you spent to sue them, up to whatever amount it is to sue them, and then a statutory award. Statutory means you don't have to prove how hurt you were to get a certain amount of money. Like if you're hurt in a car accident, you have to show all these medical bills, treatment, things like that to build up your case. However, with statutory damages, you don't have to do that. All you have to do is prove that a violation took place, and then you can get up to $1,000 just because. Now, you can also get actual damages. So if you're hurt in a way that's quantifiable, you can calculate, because this debt collection was on here, I lost out on a $100,000 job. Well, you can get actual damages for that as well. If you take it, take it to court and prove that in court, you can actually realize actual damages too. Now, so how does this help you pay your bills? Well, most people, when they have debt collections on their credit report, they can have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, you have to examine all of these debt collections for violations. I just gave you a long list of violations. Now, I have in my book, everyone, I see someone here, Skillet says, 30 says, I have your book. You're very valuable, bro. I appreciate that. So in my book, and first of all, everyone should go to brianponder.com and you can click and get a copy of my book, 4 Steps to Better Credit. But in my book, in the chapter that talks about erasing negative debt, there's a letter in there that's called the 1692 GB letter. The reason I call it that is because 15 USC 1692 GB talks about verification of debts with respect to debt collectors. It's a letter you can use to challenge debt collections with a debt collector. And you give them basically 2 options. One option is an easy way for them to resolve your problem with them. And that solution is for them to stop collecting the debt and to delete it off your credit report. It gives them a way out. The second solution is they will have to verify that debt by sending you the agreements, itemizations, and more things that would verify the debt. And a lot of times they don't have that. So this letter is very, very effective in helping you to resolve and eliminate debt. Now, if they don't do that, if they don't take the easy way out and try to take the route of trying to verify the debt, many times they don't properly verify it, and boom, there's a violation. Many times they, instead of deleting the debt, want to continue to collect it, but they have not properly verified. Well, that's a violation of the law. And once again, you can be eligible for $1,000. Now, obviously, as these debt collections add up, you may have multiple ones on your credit report. Well, those $1,000 awards can add up and pay some bills. And so the key to realizing that is typically it involves you taking the first step, using these 1692 GB letter, getting a proper dispute. Now, you'll notice I did not say anything about sending this letter to the consumer reporting agencies, the credit agencies. You don't need to do that. The reason you don't do that is this letter is designed to get the debt collectors to do that for you. So if a debt collector does that for you, you don't need to waste your dispute with the consumer reporting agency, because the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which deals with the credit reporting agencies, it doesn't allow you, it doesn't really permit you multiple chances to file disputes with them. And so you want to be very frugal in what you do with respect to disputing with them. All right. So so far, what kind of questions you have? Let me see. Let's have some comments. All right, I plan to buy your book. Again, if you're on the Clubhouse, you can just raise your hand. I'll let you come up with your question. So the first step is identifying these debt collections and sending the 1692 GB letter from my book. And by the way, those of you that get my book tonight, what you will do is once you get your confirmation email, because it's offered by Amazon Prime, you would forward that confirmation or take a picture of that confirmation and send it to my email, which is brian@brianponder.com. What I will do in turn is send you the letters in the book in Microsoft Word format for you to use right away. And I'm going to send you over a dozen other bonus materials. These bonus materials will be additional letter templates that are not in the book. It will be copies of the applicable consumer laws that we're talking about tonight. And so it's a lot of material that will allow you to immediately get to work on your credit and do what we're discussing. So once you realize the possibilities and your rights with respect to dealing with these debt collectors, you shouldn't really be afraid. In fact, you should be of the opinion of hoping a debt collector writes you or contacts you, because that turns into an opportunity, because many times they're violating some law. Now, again, the first step is to go ahead and send that letter out to set the basis of a dispute and see what the debt collector does. If they come back and say, okay, we're going to cease and desist collection, which means stop. We're going to stop collection and delete it off your credit report. That's great. You're not going to pounce on them. You don't discipline good behavior. However, if they come back and say, hey, we verified this debt and it's your debt, we're going to collect it anyway, then boom, then you may have an issue. At that point, you can contact me. You can get a game plan to go after them, since they decide they want to keep coming after you. Okay. Many times, some people think they can do it themselves. Once you understand the laws and the things you need to do, that is possible. But I would say in the beginning stages, you should try to consult with me. You can go to my website, you can book a call, we can get a plan together, and we can make things happen for you. But the way I wrote this book is for you to be able to do these things yourself. And a lot of times, just that one letter will eliminate that particular debt collection. The name of the book is 4 Steps to Better Credit. If you type into Amazon, you will see it right there. But this is a very powerful book. It's written to be simple. I've seen some reviews saying, oh, they're looking for, I don't know, some magic potion commentary or something like that. But it's written simply. It's to the point. It's effective. It's not made to be flowery. A lot of fluff. It gets right to the point. It educates you on what you need to know. And it's going to help you. So on the Clubhouse, people, we'll take questions if you raise hands, and then we'll be taking some questions here on YouTube as well. Thanks, T. Monroe. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. And we have a comment from her. Hi, bought this book last Thursday, started reading it yesterday. I've learned so much. Go buy the book. Absolutely. We appreciate that super chat. And so, so if you're listening, we have 14 people on YouTube. Be sure to press the like, get the likes up, and also, like I said, get the super chats going if you're adding value, so I can continue to come on and try to share some things with you. What questions do you have? Let's see. the name of booking and 4 steps to better credit.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
I have a question for you. I have a friend that is asking, received a letter from an attorney. I guess it's coming from an attorney, and there's actually, I'm not sure if they're servicing it, but it's coming from an attorney, and they're threatening to sue for an auto loan that has been charged back. How would you go about handling a dunning letter or letter from an attorney?
Okay. So a couple of ways. One, they can use the 1692 GB letter that I'm talking about and send it right away to that attorney, whoever sent them that letter. If it's the attorney, it would be addressed to the attorney, the law firm, and sent to that attorney. Now, that's one. Two, here's my thing. Anytime a debt collector or creditor gets an attorney involved, I think you should get an attorney involved. So that person should get an attorney involved, unless you're an attorney or someone experienced enough to deal with an attorney. So what I mean by that, well, what kind of attorney? All attorneys are not created equal. Like the foot doctor is not who you go to see about brain cancer. So you would need, that person would need a consumer lawyer to consult with on that issue. And because they're threatening to sue that person, the person who's being threatened needs to identify a consumer lawyer in their state, preferably, because if that person is sued, they're going to need to defend it in their state. So, like we talked about earlier, if with an attorney writing, that threat may be proper, but if they don't really have an intent to sue and they're just trying to threaten and coerce her, that's a violation of the law right there. But this person should really, as quickly as possible, get that 1692 GB letter out. And there's some magic in that letter that I'll talk about. One, the things it requires from the debt collector, if it's not sent, that debt collector has to stop their collection efforts. Now, with this auto situation that the credit goddess is speaking of, even if that attorney is representing, do you know that attorney representing the auto loan company or a debt collector?
The auto loan company.
Okay, cool. So the auto loan company technically may be considered an original creditor. They are not a debt collector. So the FDCPA does not apply to the auto loan company. However, a lot of people would think, well, I don't need to send that letter because it's not a debt collector. Well, actually, and thank you, Steve M. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate it. Yes, thank you for those super chats. Let's get some more super chats going. Appreciate that. So that auto loan company is not a debt collector. And so remember, the FDCPA only applies to debt collectors. But who's writing that letter on behalf of the debt collector? The lawyer. The lawyer and that law firm, they are debt collectors. They're trying to collect a debt for another company, the auto loan company. So that 1692 GB letter going to that lawyer is going to cause that lawyer to have to stop their efforts, which really are the efforts of the auto loan company. And so that's why it's important to get that letter dispatched out. Now, here's another thing. That letter, for it to actually have the legal effect of stopping the debt collection, needs to go out within 30 days of the initial contact of the debt collector. Technically, it goes more specific than that. When the debt collector contacts a consumer for the first time, within 5 days, they have to give certain notices to that consumer. Those notices says that the consumer has 30 days to dispute the validity of that debt. And so those lawyers that contacted that, car and loan borrower, if that letter had that notice in it, then the clock starts right then. If that letter didn't have the notice in it, the clock really technically hasn't started yet. So, so all that mouthful to say, send the 1692 GB letter ASAP. Because if you wait 35 days to send it, it's not going to have the same stopping power as it would. It's not going to have stopping power, period. It may, but only incidentally. But technically, legally, the stopping power is effective during the 30-day period. Outside of that, it becomes more of a dispute letter than a stop collection letter. But thanks for that question, guys. We have some more questions. Let's pull people up. So yeah, how about that, Goddess? Does that make sense?
It does make sense, yes.
Awesome.
For sure, thank you.
You're very welcome. Jermaine, how you doing?
Hey, peace, Brian. How you doing?
Doing awesome.
All right, Vance and Credit Goddess, how are y'all doing tonight?
Hi, Jermaine.
All right. Excuse me. So, I have one question for you, Brian. Actually, it's two, but I'll try to make it into one. So, I got my consultation from Leah, okay? And basically, she went over my credit, and it's not as bad as I thought, but it's still kind of bad. I was assuming that other things were going to be on there, and it wasn't. However, there were a lot of things that were on there were very old, dating back to 2012. And there were also some things, I had multiple addresses for some reason also. And my dad's information was on there too. So the only thing I could think why that happened was because I became an executor of his estate back in 2016. So I'm assuming that's why they got a hold of me in that way for his debt. But I guess my one question is, I understand that you're a lawyer, and I resonate with certain people, and I've been resonating with you hard, and also the Credit Goddess. I really, really love her spirit. I love the way she speaks. You understand everything she says. She's not overbearing or nothing. And like yourself, it just seems like you're really sincere for some reason. That's the character I get from both of you. So my question to you is, what is the major difference between yourself and the Credit Goddess? Should I seek out the Credit Goddess first and then come to you if I come into a problem with, say, a letter from a lawyer or something like that? How should I go about that?
Well, I recommend, do you have a copy of my book, 4 Steps to Better Credit?
Yes, I purchased it last week. I just got it on Sunday. Okay.
So that sort of talks to you about the whole process. So credit repair starts with just that, credit repair. You're gonna need the services of someone to help you, like the Credit Goddess, because credit repair starts with just doing that. There's a dispute process that has to occur. What we're talking about tonight was debt collection things. Well, those letters have to go out, and so whether you send it out or you engage someone else to do it, it has to get done. My whole thing is just understand what has to get done, no matter if you hire someone or not. But Vance, the Credit Goddess, all these people, even my firm. Now, obviously, it's like having lawyers are expensive. So, to do a dispute letter, you might want to get with, a credit repair person, because that will save costs. But there's a legal component, and there's a limitation to credit repair. So if, say, for example, you hired a Credit Goddess, and she's going to do what she's going to do what she's supposed to do. But what if it's not deleted? That's not her fault. That's the debt collector's fault. Then, if they don't do what they're supposed to do, the debt collector, you want to lawyer up. That's chapter 4 of the book. You want to lawyer up because now the credit repair step is completed. Now we have to bring in some legal work. And so that's when you contact me to come in and we game plan how we're going to get this debt collector to now pay you, pay me, and to get things resolved. So it's a team effort. That's why you see Vance and Credit God is here, because this is a team effort. There are stages to dealing with these credit concerns. Now, can I do all those steps? Well, yeah, but it's I'm more so dealing with going after companies that can pay for the damages for what they've done. But the credit repair step is something you can do yourself, or you would engage a credit repair person to do it for you. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And the reason why I'm not doing it myself is, well, I'm totally competent to do it myself. And I could read and all that good stuff. However, the problem I might face is if I hit a hurdle, I don't like to be, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't even know what word I'm looking for, but I don't like them. I don't like to get caught in the jam.
No, I understand. And you're wise for that. Yeah. And I want to emphasize, I keep talking about doing it. I just say that because you can. It's like, I can also go out there and cut my grass. It's not, I have better things to do. So, but I say that just to let people know, because there's a, there's some people out there that make you think that, some of these things can't be done. It's just a disclaimer. But I don't, and like you said, if you're not familiar with the process, it's actually less expensive to engage someone and pay them to do it, because they are familiar with it and they can, streamline your time. Now, as I said in the beginning, it's very important to empower yourself with the knowledge, or at least get yourself in a position where you know what's going on and why, because otherwise you're sort of lost. And but yeah, you're doing the right thing, engaging assistants to get these things done. And like I said, it can be a team effort where the dispute process is handled by someone, and then if the result does not come about, understand there's a limitation, meaning a credit repair person can do everything right, and if it's not deleted, that's not their fault. The debt collector didn't do what they're supposed to do, or the reporting agency didn't do what they're supposed to do, and so now you have to bring in the strong arm to come in and make them do what they're supposed to do and pay for it.
I understand that. I really understand. So basically, not to discredit the credit goddess at all, I'm assuming this is what my mind is telling me, and I don't mean no disrespect when I say this. You're a lawyer. She's not a lawyer. I'm assuming your cost would be a lot more, like you said, than the credit goddess would. Her services would be probably less than yours. I'm assuming. Okay, I'm not trying to value her pay, but so that's the reason why I was even thinking about going with the credit goddess. And then if I hit a block or a roadblock, I would then come to you, and then so you can handle from then on out. But the reason why I don't want to handle it myself, like I said, I think I'm competent enough to handle it. However, I got a painting business and I work a lot of hours, so I don't want to have to be worried about that on my first time out. If this is my second or third time, so be it. But this is my first time out trying to repair my credit. I've never looked at, well, I can say never. I haven't looked at my credit in over 10 years. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I'm down with, the billion private banking, and now that they has me on this course of, creating the generational wealth, I understand that, and I understand where I need to be. So the first time looking at my credit, and yes, it's bad. I do know it's bad. However, it could be repaired. And the biggest thing is I have my niece also, and she's only 20 years old. So I would like to have her credit just as good. Now, she's a ghost, so to speak, but she just obtained a auto loan through Ford Motor Credit, and where Ford Motor Credit had an offer where if you were a 4-year college student, they were offering top tier credit rating and also guaranteed approval. So I said, look, niece, you got to take advantage of this, like immediately, because this is the way that you're going to get your foot in the door as far as credit. Now, she took out a loan almost $20,000, and she's only 20 years old, but I'm here to help her. And I think with the education I'm getting from you, the credit goddess, from ML, from Dr. O, and everybody, I think I'll be pretty good in about another year or two. So with that being said, I think that's it. I had a second question, but I think you already answered it. So thank you, and I appreciate your time, Brian.
You're very welcome.
And I appreciate your book too, and I'm still reading it. And that's the reason why I have your book, is to not necessarily do it myself, but at least to get an idea of the terminology or the wording, so that I can, converse with the credit goddess or yourself or any credit repair person in that respect. So I don't know what's going on, so to speak. So that's the main reason why I got your book, just to know the certain terminologies.
Yeah, well, thanks. And thank you for that question. And we have YouTube a question from DL. Is there a list of names of the credit reporting agencies? That's a great question, DL. And yes, there is. DL, you can go to 4stepscredit.com, or you can go to brianponder.com, click on my book, 4 Steps to Better Credit. In my book, I give you the entire list. And of course, those of you that get the book tonight, forward your receipt to brian@brianponder.com. I will email you the electronic versions of the letters in the book, along with a dozen bonus letters. And then I'm also going to send you a list of all the the most recent list of all the consumer reporting agencies. Okay, so yeah, you're going to have all that information. And that's a good question, because a lot of people think there's only 3 consumer reporting agencies. Well, in my book, I'm going to give you about 42 of them. And there are a lot more reporting agencies than you believe. Once the credit repair journey is complete, how does someone turn the opportunity into wealth or fortune? Well, that's a good question too, because your personal credit can set the foundation for you to obtain business credit. Now, business credit is completely different from personal credit, because utilization is not a factor. So you can get business credit, use it, and leverage it to get assets, income, and all kind of things. And so that's how you do that. You take your personal credit, get it up to par, and start businesses and start building that business up with respect to business credit. To do that, you can go to nav.com, nav.com. They will walk you through the tiers of business credit, and Credit Goddess can speak about that a little bit, because she's a NAV specialist. All right, Iris, how you doing? Did we lose Jake? Let's see. Okay, Iris, how you doing? Are you there? Nope, maybe not. Okay. All right, she didn't have a question. Great. All right, let's see. All right, can we get your super chats going on YouTube? Any questions here? We have about 7 more minutes before we wrap up here. So let's see. With the list of 43 reporting agencies, how many of those should I send dispute letters to? Well, once you get the book, you pay attention to chapter 1. Chapter 1 talks about reviewing your reports. And so once you review your reports, it'll guide you on where you need to focus on sending disputes and things like that. So you'll make the determination after you review your reports. Let's see. Welcome, Selena. How are you doing?
Good evening. I'm doing fine. Yourself?
Oh, doing awesome. Winslow, how you doing there?
Good evening. Doing great this evening.
All right. Did you have a question, Winslow?
I do. And I will be purchasing your book as soon as I can find my Amazon gift card that I got. So I just gotta find that card. I'm going to be purchasing the book tonight.
All right.
Because I'm really interested in and have been experiencing more information being shared where I'm protected from these the said credit reporting agencies. So definitely we'll look into that. But I want to find, or would like to ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
I have been on this journey of credit repair and writing letters and sending things into the bureaus and fighting or getting responses about things that have been verified and so forth and so on. And as I've learned, here within the last 2 years, probably closer to 3 years now, as I've gone through this journey of personally repairing my credit. A lot of times there are things as far as systems that when these letters come in to these to the CRAs, they are run through a system and actually not ever getting to a live person. So it goes through a system. The system basically verifies that the information is correct. And my stuff has most times come back verified. I've had a few things deleted off my credit report, which I know that, it can work. What I am looking to find out, or I guess the question that I'm asking is, I have things that actually have been in collections for a course of a year and a half. And if they've never received anything from a collection agency, the actual company just labels it as being collections. And I want to, I would like to dispute that information, but I'm like, it's never really left the company's, I guess, hands, so to speak, to go to a third-party collection agency. So I wanted to know, how should I begin to attack that situation and trying to get that deleted off of my actual report?
Oh, okay. It can depend on what kind of debt it is. So give me an example of one or two.
So, okay, this one specifically it's a credit card. It was with First Premier Credit Card.
Mm-hmm. Is it closed?
And it is closed. It's been closed now for 2.5 years.
Got it. Okay. All right. So I great. So with credit cards are a special type of debt in that there are certain laws that play a part on whether a credit card should have ever been opened legally. And so what I have for that, or what I recommend for that, is a series of letters to the credit card company, and also a letter that will also, after that letters to the credit card company gets documents back, then possibly a letter to the consumer reporting agency. And I have what's called a credit card deletion package for that. And so that's one of those debts that can require those special templates, because there's some laws, like there's a Fair Credit Billing Act, that are activated that can help delete a credit card debt. Unlike other laws, the FDCPA doesn't apply in your scenario because it's with the original creditor, but the Fair Credit Billing Act, and there's some other laws and regulations that are federal that apply to that credit card opening up. And that credit card company, more likely than not, will not have the proper documentation regarding the opening of that account to really be able to substantiate continuing to report or collect on it. And so for that kind of debt, you would use what's called a credit card deletion package. That's on my website under products. That's a special series of things you could do. But at the generic level, for those that don't have that package and you only have my book, you would use what's called the CRA deletion letter. And to do that, you would need to review the trade line. The trade line is just how the debt is listed, company name, late payments, things like that. And so you would look for anything in that trade line that's inaccurate or incomplete, and you would be able to exploit that in a positive way by informing the reporting agency that it's inaccurate or incomplete and asking that they delete it. Okay, so if you can't get that credit card deletion package, that would be the approach you could take with the letter from the book, which is called a CRA deletion letter. So that's the short answer. Is there another debt that you had in mind that would need to be attacked? type?
Well, it's funny because I haven't had an actual revolving account or applied for anything within the past 2 years. I did get an installment loan. I had a co-signer, so I've been paying on that installment loan for 2 years because I was like, I got to start finding a way to rebuild my credit. So I've been paying on that for 2 years, and it's been perfectly paid on time. But I have other things on my credit report. Most of the things are closed. A lot of things I did get an opportunity to pay. Now what I know, I probably should have done that. Nonetheless, it's already taken care of. But it's taken care of, it's showing it's closed, but it's also showing with a lot of derogatories. And that's some of the things that I'm dealing with my credit report. I have things that are closed, but that show a great deal of derogatories. I had a student loan that defaulted, which I guess defaulted with a third party, and then they also defaulted or shows default with the U.S. Department of Education. So on my credit report, I have those two things, and it's just like the continuous, letter sending and things of that nature. Like, is anything really working as far as removing that stuff? So.
Okay. Yeah, so you'll find certain types of debts like repossession, credit card, student loan, bankruptcy. Certain things do require special attention, but when you get the book, you're going to get, in email me, you'll get the letters that are needed to deal with things on the report, and that's the CRA letter, and things that are debt collections. That's the 1692 GB letter. So, between those two and the other bonus letters that are, titled on what they'll deal with specifically, you'll be able to implement that. And then if you have any question, you can always schedule like a one-on-one to sort of game plan specifically on anything that's not, covered by what you have in front of you.
Okay, awesome. And I just found my Amazon card, so guess what I'm about to do?
Awesome.
So I'm about to purchase this book, and I'll be sending you an email. Email is I can find that on your profile.
Yeah, it's on my profile.
Okay.
It's Brian at brianponder.com, but yep, it's right there on my profile.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for this information. I was listening to a call, I think Sunday night, I believe, and you were last night. Yeah, you were speaking, or was it Saturday? I can't remember, but you were speaking in another room, and I immediately said, you know what, I need to follow this guy. He knows what he's talking about. So
yeah,
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate you participating. Rashawn Jones says, can you help people in Florida? So, Rashawn, I was telling someone in Maryland, if you're suing someone, if you're going after a debt collector that does business in New York or other areas where I'm admitted in federal court, I can go after them and help people in California. But if someone is getting sued in California, I can't defend them in California because I'm not licensed in California. So it depends. If you're going after someone, maybe. If someone's coming after you or someone in California, no, I can't help them to fight off someone in California. It would be a consumer lawyer. A good resource to find other consumer lawyers across the nation would be the National Association of Consumer Advocates. Their website is www.consumeradvocates.org. www.consumeradvocates with an S at the end .org. So, hi Janisa, how you doing? You have the floor.
Hi, Mr. Ponder. How are you?
Excellent.
I did purchase your book last time you were here on Clubhouse, and I ended up purchasing the book, and I actually received it today.
Awesome.
And I'm super excited about that. And I did receive the letters. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I had a question. So the 1682 GB letter.
1692.
So 1692.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes. So that letter, is it good to send it to the original creditor,
no,
or
no.
Is it just the debt collector?
Just the debt collector. So good question.
Okay.
Only for debt collectors. not the original creditor. Do not send it to debt collectors. Just like the CRA letter, the letter that says CRA, that does not go to debt collectors. That will go to the Consumer Reporting Agency. But the 1692 GB letter only goes to debt collectors, not original creditors where the account is in collection with the original creditor, but only debt collectors with the debt collection.
Okay. And that basically stopped the process of them putting it on your report.
It doesn't stop them from putting it in your report, but it can stop collection of it. So, for example, they can put it on your report, immediately. But if you're within 30 days of the initial communication that contains the, you can dispute it within 30 days, yes, that letter will stop legally them from collecting or reporting it until they send verification documents, or they may opt to not do it and just choose to delete it and not collect on it anymore. So I recorded this on YouTube, so if you missed the beginning, I sort of talked about it. You can go to YouTube and replay it, but that letter takes and has effect within 30 days of the initial communication that gives the consumer his or her notices, requirements and things like that. So, but it only goes to debt collector. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Oh,
and I do have one more question.
Sure.
This is more like a personal. I just want your view on it. Maybe so forth. I may, have a personal consultation with you just to fix this issue. So I have a charge off on my credit report that I've been struggling to get it removed. It's from a credit union. It was from a personal loan, and I made most of the payments, and I had a couple payments left, which I failed to proceed and pay. So because of that, they charged it off on my report, and I just cannot remove it. So
is it a credit card?
No, it was actually a personal loan.
Okay. For that, I would recommend studying the trade line itself to see if there's anything on it that's incomplete or inaccurate, and use that as a basis to dispute it with the Consumer Reporting Agency and request that they delete that account. That's the recommendation for things like that.
Okay.
And if you have trouble, sometimes people, after you study the book and things and can't really figure out what's inaccurate and incomplete, sometimes you may have to get help in trying to figure out how to attack it if it's not obvious to you.
Okay. Yeah. Most likely I will reach out to you for a personal consultation.
Okay.
Just
Sure.
to look at it with me.
And for those that are listening, I do have good news for you. I do have a special going on. I call it my birthday special because my birthday is April 20th, 4/20. And so from now until April 20th, you can schedule a consultation, a 15-minute consultation, which is usually $100 for $43. So that's something you can take advantage of. So I would say when you do schedule that, come prepared, to talk specifically and not generally, because you can really get some specific information that can help you during that 15 minutes. Follow all the moderators, and I wanted to bring Salima up to introduce herself and tell you who she is, if she's available to do so.
Hello, everyone. My name is Salima. I am the owner of Inspire Financial Consulting. I am a personal and business credit coach. I help clients restore and to build their credit, as well as their business credit without using a personal guarantor, and then also using a PG as well. So basically, I just help them provide value in every area that I can. Thank you for having me, Brian.
Awesome. Thank you, Salima. So be sure to follow Salima. Click notifications. Kwa, how you doing? You have the floor.
Hello. Okay, so just going from what the young lady that was just saying, right, the last one before Salima, when she mentioned the credit unions are a different animal than any other entity on the credit report, from what I've found. So, I mean, are there out of the people here that are credit companies here that helps the different people in your group that's on? What are some of the ways, like for example, I'm sure you're probably familiar with Navy Federal. I'm sure you've had many clients talk to you about very difficult to remove items from Navy. What are some tips? I mean, I know you just said about looking at the line item, but like you said earlier, you have to be judicious with how you go after some of these items. So, do you guys have specific success with dealing with credit unions and mainly Navy Federal?
Okay. Anyone wanted to chime in on that?
Well, I personally haven't had to focus on credit unions. I am familiar with Navy Federal. I do recommend Navy Federal to my clients when it comes to getting established with their trade lines and setting up a personal account so that they can get personal trade lines, lines of credit with Navy Federal. I'm sorry, I'm so tired. But I haven't had to actually dispute accounts with Navy Federal, if that makes sense. But I would follow the proper dispute flow that I would with any other account that I am disputing, and specifically depending on what and how the account is reporting. But I'll let Brian add on to that.
And Brian, can I say one more thing before you go? Is, for example, I one time went to a credit union. I went to the office and I discussed getting it removed, and I had got it removed off my credit report. But when I went to the credit union, they actually pulled me in the back of the office and said, oh, well, you still have this bill with us. So credit unions do a different type of accounting than banks and other credit institutions. I just wanted to add that as well before you say something.
So I've dealt with Navy Federal quite frequently. I mean, they're no different than any other, I guess, furnisher on the report. So once you establish that they've broken the law, it's really the consumer's court. So what I've done for the last 10 years is basically just take them to federal court, and then so the lawyers that I use, including Brian, they don't even want to deal with it. So you start disputing, and then you just take it up to federal court. And so say for example, Brian will reach out to them, or if they don't want to comply with the letter, comply with the demands, you just basically take them to federal court, man. I mean, just take them to federal court. I mean, all that going back and forth with letters, it's a headache, man. But when you go to federal court, it's really, I don't want to say simple. It's a lot of work, but they're gonna really do what you want to do because you have a lawyer that's charging them money to talk and all that type of stuff. So that's just my way to go to handle it.
Okay.
What's the issue you have with Navy Federal?
It's just like credit cards, and when you send in validation, or like for example, I even have some clients that I dealt with as well, and they like for example, even with the things that's going on with COVID right now, like one person had 130-day late during COVID, and they asked them if they could remove it, and they said, and Navy said no.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one issue. But then also, they validated, and then again, another credit union, when I went in, I got it off my credit report, but when I was trying to get credit with them again, they showed me the account, like they still had that debt on there, even though I was able to get it from the other credit union taken off. So I just noticed that some of the credit unions others have. They kind of move different because their funding is different from banks, I guess. But, so those are the issues that I've had.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it may require you to just book a one-on-one, and you know, please, people that book a one-on-one, they shouldn't approach it like we're approaching this. Send a report in so we can talk specifics on what to do and how to attack it. You know, so obviously Clubhouse is not, you know, a venue where we may be able to hash out all the specifics. So you can book a consultation with me on my website, brianponder.com, or you can message me and I can give you a special link where you can book, and I can help you get a game plan, because obviously the worst thing you can do is just to repeat what hasn't worked. So if what you've done so far hasn't worked, then you have to get with someone, you know, like myself or, you know, Vance or Salima, and see if we can put our heads together to get an action plan on trying to get the deletion accomplished.
Done deal. Thank you.
All right. So any other questions? Because we are going to wrap this room up. Salima has to go to bed.
Right. I work early hours.
Yes. So, but look, I appreciate y'all. Follow all the moderators. Everyone that's listening, even you on YouTube, listen, grab my book, 4 Steps to Better Credit. You see it right behind me there. Very important, because even if you hire someone, you're going to need to have the formula in your head, 4 steps on how you can improve your credit without breaking the bank. If you don't have these 4 steps in your head, you may end up breaking the bank, you know, trying to get there, and we don't want that. Okay. So grab the book, email me, and it's amazing. Like in my profile, I have the steps, and let me just check, because I have the steps on how to get these bonus letters, and people still want to send me pictures in Instagram or ask me when the letters are coming. You just forward your receipt to my email. Simple as that. So follow instructions and you'll get very far in the credit area. So thank you all for joining. What you want to do also is follow all the moderators, follow me, and click the notification bell. So next time I host a room, you'll get notified.
Brian,
Yep.
Brian, I'm sorry. It looks like we have one question before we close out.
Sure.
I see a hand raised from Margot.
Sure. What's up, Margot?
Hi, how are you?
Excellent.
Brian, as well. I'm just wanted to comment. I did receive the book. I started reading. I stopped at step 3. I didn't want to go forward because I wanted to take it step by step and follow the book and proceed that way. Also, I did send the copy of the receipt, so I'm actually still waiting for the other letters.
Mm-hmm. What's your email address? Or let me see. Actually, I think I just already sent it to you. Tracy, your TLR? No.
It would be in my iCloud.
Oh Lord.
I used it, but it's not my name. It's actually One Hot Coffee, the number 1.
And you email you email Brian at brianponder.com.
Yes. Let me just verify where it went.
It may be easier if you could just resend it. That way it's at the top of his email, because I'm sure he received a lot of emails today and from Clubhouse.
Okay, so I'll do that now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did you have another question? Okay? Nope. No, I didn't see your. Okay.
I just sent it. Yeah, no more questions. I'll just wait patiently. That's all.
Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, I responded. So I got your email, but I responded 4 days ago. But yeah, I responded to you on February 4th, 8:31 a.m. Okay. But I'll just resend it now, maybe. Okay, but yeah, I'll respond.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. So, okay, well, look, all right, great, y'all, and thanks for joining, and I'll see y'all next time. Thanks, moderators.
All right, not a problem. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Stay tuned for additional rooms and be ready to ping your friends.
Absolutely. Bye, everyone.
Have a good night.
Good night. And YouTube land, any more questions? We're going to wrap this thing up. Remember, if you purchased a book, just email me, brian@brianponder.com, forward your receipt, and you'll get the bonus materials. All right. Thank you for the super chats. I want to thank everyone who, T. Monroe, Steve M. Thank you for the super chats, and like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell. That way, next time I jump on to talk about some topics, you'll get notified. And yeah, if y'all have any questions, you can always go to my website, brianponder.com, and schedule a one-on-one call with me, and we can talk about your specific issues. So thanks again for joining. Y'all have a good night.